There comes a moment in life when the noise becomes too much. The deadlines keep piling up. The bills sit heavy on the table. The phone lights up with messages, yet the heart feels strangely alone. In the quiet hours of the night, the mind refuses to rest. It keeps replaying conversations, regrets, and worries that never seem to end. For many, this is the hidden weight of modern life, a sense of running endlessly, yet never arriving anywhere that feels like home. We strive harder, chase more, collect achievements, and still something inside whispers that it is not enough. This whisper is not a flaw. It is not proof that you are broken. It is the echo of a deeper truth of life as we live it today, rushed, restless, and consumed by comparison, cannot satisfy the heart. Our culture tells us that happiness lies just beyond the next success, the next purchase, the next perfect moment. But once we reach those milestones, peace still slips through our fingers. The cycle repeats and exhaustion grows. Yet within this struggle, there is another possibility. Long before the chaos of our modern world, wise teachers pointed to a different path. They spoke of the storms of the mind and the hunger of the heart, and they offered practices that do not numb or escape life, but transform how we meet it. They revealed that true peace is not found by adding more, but by seeing clearly, letting go, and living with compassion. Imagine, for a moment, sitting by a river. The water rushes, carrying leaves and branches with it. You reach out to grab hold, to stop the flow, but the current pulls harder, and your grip only tires you more. Finally, exhausted, you release. And in that letting go, something shifts. You are no longer fighting the river. You are watching it, present with it, free from its pull. This is the essence of the wisdom we are about to explore. Over the course of this journey, we will walk through 10 deep struggles of human life. The stress that keeps us awake at night, the endless craving for more, the pain of relationships, the weight of expectations, the fear of change, the ache of loneliness. Each struggle will be met with a story, a reflection, and above all, a teaching rooted in ancient truth, but spoken for today. Not as distant philosophy, not as rigid religion, but as a living guide for anyone who seeks relief from suffering and a way to breathe again. These teachings are not about withdrawing from the world. They are about moving through it with a clearer mind and a softer heart. They remind us that pain is not the enemy, that struggle is not a punishment, and that beneath all of it lies a freedom waiting to be uncovered. You do not need to be a monk in a monastery to taste this freedom. You can be a parent trying to make ends meet, a student lost in anxiety, a professional chasing deadlines. Wherever you are, this wisdom can meet you there. And so, as we begin, allow yourself to pause. Let the words not just pass through your ears, but sink gently into your own lived experience. Recognize the weight you have been carrying. Recognize the longing you have for something steadier, kinder, and more real. This longing is the doorway. Step through it with me, and together we will explore how ancient teachings can become living medicine for the wounds of modern life. We grow up in a culture that praises constant effort. From the time we are children, we hear the message: work harder, push stronger, never stop. The student is told that more study will guarantee success. The worker is told that longer hours will bring security. The parent is told that perfection will create a happy family. The individual is told that the right job, the right partner, the right bank account will finally bring peace. And so we push. We push through exhaustion. We push through doubt. We push until life feels like an endless race with no finish line in sight. At first, this pushing feels noble. After all, effort is celebrated. Effort builds nations, creates inventions, cures diseases. But somewhere along the way, effort becomes a cage. We begin to confuse effort with worth. We think, if I stop pushing, I will fall behind. If I rest, I will be forgotten. If I slow down, my life will collapse. And so the cycle of striving grows heavier. The calendar fills. The body weakens. The mind races. Still, we tell ourselves, just a little more, just a little longer, and I will arrive. But have you noticed that arrival never comes? Perhaps you achieved a goal you long dreamed of, the promotion, the new home, the recognition. For a moment, joy appeared. Yet soon, another hunger took its place. Another, if only, rose in your mind. If only I lose the weight. If only I find the right partner. If only I earn a little more. Each if only dangles like a carrot before us, and we chase until we are too tired to see straight dot. This is the illusion of perpetual effort. It whispers that peace lies just one step beyond where you are now. It convinces you that rest is dangerous, that stillness is laziness, that slowing down is failure. And because you believe it, you run. You run even when you are hurting. You run even when your heart is breaking. You run even when the very peace you seek is already here, waiting quietly beneath your feet. The cost of this illusion is visible everywhere. Stress-related illnesses fill hospitals. Families break under the strain of overwork. Young people burn out before their lives have even begun. Anxiety and depression climb to record highs in societies that seem to have everything. We have more wealth, more convenience, more technology than any generation before us, yet peace feels further away. Why? Because we are trapped in the cycle of pushing, striving, and never arriving dot to see this more clearly. Imagine a man standing in the ocean, trying to push back the waves with his hands. Every time the water comes, he braces himself, trying to hold it back. The harder he pushes, the more exhausted he becomes. Eventually, he collapses in despair, believing he has failed. But in truth, the waves were never meant to be stopped. They rise and fall by their nature. Peace does not come from resisting them, but from learning to float. Buddhist teachings offer a radical invitation here. Stop pushing. Stop believing that you are flawed, incomplete, or one step away from wholeness. The ancient masters remind us that you are already whole. The problem is not that you are broken. The problem is that you are entangled in the habit of resistance. You believe you must fight life in order to live it. And yet, freedom begins not with more fighting, but with release. This does not mean giving up responsibility. It does not mean abandoning your work, your family, or your dreams. It means changing the energy with which you meet them. Instead of clenching your fists against the current of life, you open your hands and allow the current to move. You act, yes, but you act from clarity, not desperation. You work, but you work with balance, not obsession. You love, but you love without demand. Let us bring this down to something ordinary. Picture a young woman in her late 20s. She has a steady job, friends who care for her, and a future that looks bright on paper. Yet every night she lies awake, heart racing, thinking of all the things she has not yet done. She compares herself to others on social media. She feels behind, unworthy, not enough. So she signs up for another course, takes on another project, stretches her schedule thinner and thinner. When she finally pauses, she feels empty. The joy she longs for never arrives. Why? Because she is chasing peace as if it were a prize, instead of realizing peace is the ground she is already standing on. The Buddha once described this condition as like a man wounded by an arrow. Instead of pulling out the arrow, he runs around asking who shot it, what kind of wood it was made from, how far it traveled. In our striving, we do something similar. We run in circles, piling on effort, instead of stopping to face the truth of our pain. The teaching invites us, before you chase another goal, pause, breathe, feel the body. Notice the mind. See that the striving itself is the wound. This pause is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the beginning of a new way of living. To pause is to remember that you are more than your tasks, more than your achievements, more than the endless to-do list. You are awareness itself. You are the witness of thoughts, not their prisoner. In that awareness, even for a brief moment, peace becomes possible. Now consider this. What if the very thing you fear slowing down is the door to freedom? What if rest is not failure, but the secret path you have been missing? What if the peace you have been chasing for years has been quietly waiting, hidden beneath the noise of your racing mind? The illusion of perpetual effort tells us that everything depends on us, that we must control life or be swallowed by it. But life is larger than us. Life is not a machine to be controlled. It is a river to be lived, and rivers do not need to be pushed. They flow on their own. When you remember this, a softening begins. The shoulders release. The breath deepens. The mind, long trapped in a cage of demands, begins to open. This is the starting point of our journey. To question the myth that more effort equals more peace. To recognize that relentless striving is not the cure, but the disease. And to rediscover what has always been here. A peace that does not need to be earned, only remembered. There is a story often told of a man who carried a heavy pack on his back. Every morning he woke, strapped it tighter, and walked into the day. Inside the pack were stones, each one representing a task, a regret, a fear, a promise. The man believed that by carrying the pack, he was proving his strength, his worth. People admired him for his determination. Yet in private moments, he was weary, his shoulders bent, his heart aching. One day, an old monk passed him and asked, "Why do you carry so much?" The man replied, "Because if I let go, everything will fall apart." The monk smiled gently and said, "No, my friend. If you let go, everything will fall into place." This story captures the trap of relentless effort. We confuse carrying burdens with being responsible. We confuse suffering with significance. Yet the monk's wisdom points us to another truth. Life is not asking us to carry every stone. Life is asking us to see which stones are real, which stones belong to others, and which stones were never ours to begin with. The teachings of mindfulness bring this into sharp relief. When we sit quietly, breathing, we begin to notice the patterns of our mind. Thoughts arise. I should be doing more. I must fix this. I cannot rest yet. At first, these thoughts feel like commands. But slowly, with practice, we see them for what they are, passing clouds in the sky of awareness. They do not define us. They do not command us. They are habits of striving, habits we can release. Think of the modern professional who spends years climbing the career ladder. Every step brings a new title, a new paycheck, a new sense of progress. Yet every step also brings a new demand, a new pressure, a new hunger. He tells himself, "When I reach the top, then I will rest." But at the top, he looks around and finds no peace. Only a new set of anxieties. Only the same restless heart. What he has missed is not opportunity, but presence. He has been chasing life instead of living it. The Buddhist path reminds us that presence is not earned. It is chosen. It is available in the ordinary moment, while washing dishes, while walking to the store, while sitting with a loved one. Presence is not the reward for finishing all our tasks. It is the ground beneath the tasks. The illusion of perpetual effort blinds us to this, making us believe that life begins after the work is done. But life is happening now, in the very midst of the work. Here is a practice to reveal this truth. Take a single breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Notice that in this small act, nothing needs to be achieved. The breath rises, the breath falls. You did not earn it. You did not create it. You simply received it. This is life's gift, arriving moment by moment. To live in awareness of this gift is to remember that peace is not found by racing toward the future, but by resting in the present. This remembering changes how we relate to struggle. Instead of meeting challenges with clenched fists, we meet them with open hands. Instead of asking, "How can I fix this faster?" we ask, "How can I meet this moment fully?" This shift does not erase hardship, but it transforms it. Stress becomes an opportunity to breathe more deeply. Conflict becomes a chance to practice compassion. Uncertainty becomes an invitation to trust. Let us return to the image of the man pushing back the waves. The moment he stops resisting, he discovers he can float. Floating does not mean ignoring the ocean. It means moving with it, allowing it to hold you. In the same way, letting go of relentless effort does not mean abandoning life. It means participating in life without being crushed by it. This wisdom is urgent in our modern world. The culture of endless striving is not only personal, it is collective. Nations compete. Corporations demand more. Families measure worth in productivity. The result is a society where exhaustion is normal, where rest is guilt, where joy feels out of reach. To break this cycle, we must begin with ourselves. We must dare to step out of the race, even for a moment, and rediscover that being alive is enough. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. Clinging to success, clinging to identity, clinging to control. Relentless effort is simply another form of clinging. It is the refusal to trust life as it is. When we loosen our grip, even slightly, suffering eases. The heart softens. The mind clears. This is not weakness. It is the deepest strength. Imagine a candle in a storm. If the candle struggles to fight the wind, it flickers wildly, straining to stay alive. But if it is shielded gently, if it rests in the stillness of presence, it shines steadily, even amidst the storm. Our lives are like this candle. We do not need to conquer every storm. We need only to return to the shelter of awareness, the sanctuary within. And so, the invitation is simple. Pause. Notice where you are pushing, where you are striving, where you are exhausting yourself. Ask gently, what would happen if I let go, even a little? You may discover that the world does not collapse. You may discover that life supports you more than you imagined. You may discover a peace that has been waiting quietly for you all along. This peace is not the end of effort. It is the end of false effort. It is the beginning of wise effort that arises not from fear, but from clarity. Effort that is not driven by desperation, but guided by compassion. Effort that does not exhaust, but nourishes. In this way, life becomes less about conquering and more about flowing. Less about proving and more about being God. As this first step of our journey closes, feel the shift within yourself. You have seen the illusion of perpetual effort for what it is. You have felt the weight of striving, and you have glimpsed the possibility of release. Carry this insight with you, for it will prepare your heart for what comes next. Because once we see through the illusion of endless striving, another truth emerges. We are not alone in our suffering. Just as we are caught in this cycle, so too are others. Our lives are woven together, each action affecting another, each struggle connected to countless unseen causes. To truly understand our freedom, we must see this web of connection. And that is where we turn next. Picture a single dewdrop resting on a blade of grass at dawn. When the sun rises, that tiny drop reflects the entire sky, the trees around it, even the person who bends down to look. Something so small holds an entire world. This image, simple yet profound, offers us a doorway into one of the most powerful truths of human life. Nothing exists alone, God. We often move through our days as if we are separate. I am here. You are there. My problems are mine. Your problems are yours. This belief in separation is so common that we hardly notice it. Yet beneath the surface, Every moment of our lives is connected to countless others. The food on our plates, the air we breathe, the language we speak, all of it arises from an unseen network of relationships, actions, and causes. Think of a morning cup of coffee. At first glance, it seemed simple. A cup, some liquid, a moment of comfort. But look closer. That cup of coffee exists because farmers in another part of the world planted seeds, tended fields, harvested beans. Truck drivers transported them. Factory workers roasted and packaged them. Store clerks stocked them on shelves. And beyond human effort, there was the rain that watered the plants, the soil that nourished them, the sunlight that ripened them. Your single cup of coffee contains the labor of thousands and the gifts of the earth itself. You lift it to your lips, and you are touching the entire world. This is the unseen web of connectedness. It is not philosophy. It is the very fabric of our lives. And when we forget it, suffering grows. When we think we are separate, we blame others for our pain. We carry shame for our mistakes. We believe that our struggles are unique, our burdens solitary. Yet when we see the web clearly, blame begins to dissolve. We realize that no moment arises from one cause alone. Everything is the result of countless threads woven together. Consider a conflict with a loved one. Harsh words are spoken. Feelings are hurt. The mind quickly rushes to judgment. They wronged me. They should have known better. But if we pause and look deeper, we see more. Perhaps their anger was shaped by stress at work. Perhaps their stress was shaped by childhood wounds. Perhaps those wounds were shaped by generations before them. Suddenly, the harsh word is no longer a simple act of malice. It is the echo of countless conditions reaching into the present. This understanding does not excuse harm, but it transforms our response. Instead of being consumed by anger, we find space for curiosity, compassion, even forgiveness. Buddhist teachings describe this as dependent origination, the truth that nothing exists on its own, but only through causes and conditions. A flower does not bloom without soil, rain, and sun. A person does not act without history, environment, and countless unseen influences. Even our own thoughts are not born in isolation. They are shaped by voices we have heard, experiences we have lived, fears we have inherited. When we see this, the burden of self-blame softens. We realize, I am not a single broken being. I am the result of a vast, intricate web. My struggles are not personal failures. They are the ripples of many streams meeting in me. This realization brings relief. Imagine carrying a heavy weight, believing it is entirely yours. Then someone shows you that dozens of hands are holding it too. The weight does not vanish, but it feels lighter. This is what happens when we recognize connectedness. We stop isolating our pain. We stop believing we must carry everything alone. At the same time, this recognition calls us to responsibility. If everything is connected, then our actions ripple outward. A careless word can echo in the heart of another for years. A small act of kindness can change the course of a stranger's day, perhaps even their life. Each choice plants seeds in the shared garden of human experience. To live with awareness of this web is to become a gardener of peace. Think of the farmer again, sowing seeds in the soil. He does not control the rain, the sun, the wind, but he knows that if he plants corn, corn will grow, not wheat. If he plants weeds, weeds will spread. Our actions are like this. We cannot control every outcome, but we can choose the seeds we plant, seeds of patience, generosity, understanding. In time, those seeds shape the landscape not only of our lives, but of those around us. This truth becomes especially clear in moments of suffering. When anxiety rises, when anger burns, when loneliness bites, the mind says, "This is mine. I am trapped." Yet if we step back, we see that others have felt this too. Across the world, across time, countless people have walked the same valley of pain. We are not alone in our struggle. Our suffering is part of the human story, a thread in the great web. To know this is to breathe easier. It is to feel less isolated. It is to touch a deeper compassion, not only for others, but for ourselves. Here is a simple practice. The next time you feel overwhelmed, pause and whisper inwardly, "This is not mine alone. Others feel this too." Let that awareness soften your heart. Imagine your struggle as a single thread woven into a vast tapestry. See how your pain is held within the larger pattern of life. Then imagine sending kindness into that web, offering comfort not only to yourself, but to everyone who shares in this human experience. In this way, suffering becomes a bridge instead of a wall. It connects us rather than isolates us. When you know that your tears are joined by the tears of countless others, your heart opens. And in that opening, you discover a strength that does not come from pushing harder, but from belonging. The unseen web of connectedness also teaches humility. We realize that our lives are supported by countless hands we will never see. The clothes we wear, the roads we drive on, the music we listen to all arise from the labor and creativity of others. Gratitude becomes natural when we see this. Every bite of food, every breath of clean air, every moment of safety is a gift shaped by interconnection. Gratitude does not need to be forced. It arises naturally when we awaken to the truth that we are never alone, not for a single moment. And with gratitude comes compassion. When we see that our well-being is bound to the well-being of others, kindness stops being optional. It becomes essential. We recognize that hurting another is, in truth, hurting ourselves. Helping another is, in truth, healing ourselves. The line between self and other begins to blur, and in that blurring, freedom appears. As this section closes, carry this reflection. Your life is not an isolated island. You are a wave upon the ocean, inseparable from the sea. You are a thread in a vast tapestry, inseparable from the whole. When you remember this, blame softens, compassion grows, and peace becomes possible. And as we turn forward, another question arises. If every thought and action is a thread in this great web, what kind of energy are we weaving into it? What seeds are we planting in the soil of our shared experience? This leads us into the next truth. The echoes of our intentions. Imagine standing in a vast forest. Around you are trees of different shapes and ages. Some are towering giants. Others are saplings just beginning to grow. At first glance, each tree seems separate, with its own trunk, its own branches, its own leaves. Yet beneath the soil, their roots intertwine, exchanging nutrients, passing signals, supporting one another in ways invisible to the eye. What looks like independence is in truth a network of connection. Our lives are much the same. We appear separate, yet beneath the surface, our roots are intertwined. This recognition is not abstract. It can change how we respond to daily life. Consider a stranger who cuts you off in traffic. Instantly, anger rises. How dare they? They disrespected me. Let pause and remember the web. Perhaps they are rushing to a hospital. Perhaps they are lost in worry about their family. Perhaps their short temper was shaped by a morning filled with stress. Your anger softens, not because their action was right, but because you see the larger context. Compassion arises naturally when we see beyond the surface of events. Or consider the story of a child who struggles in school. Teachers may see laziness. Parents may see rebellion. But look deeper. Perhaps the child is hungry, or carrying the weight of family conflict, or overwhelmed by emotions they do not know how to name. What appears as defiance may be the expression of unseen causes. By understanding the web, we meet the child not with harshness, but with care. We stop asking, "What is wrong with you?" and begin asking, "What has happened to you?" This shift can change a life. The same principle applies inwardly. Many of us carry guilt or shame for our struggles. We ask, why am I anxious? Why am I angry? Why can't I be stronger? Yet if we look deeper, we see that these emotions are not failures. They are the fruit of many conditions: family history, cultural pressures, biology, trauma, the collective stress of society. To recognize this is not to escape responsibility. It is to meet ourselves with understanding. Instead of piling on judgment, we create space for healing. Buddhism teaches that everything arises through causes and conditions, like ripples on water. No ripple appears by itself. Each wave is shaped by countless forces: the wind, the stone thrown, the current beneath. In the same way, each moment of our lives is shaped by countless influences. When we awaken to this truth, two gifts appear: responsibility and compassion. Responsibility, because our choices ripple outward. Compassion, because we see that others are also shaped by ripples beyond their control. There is a story from the Buddha's time. A man approached him, consumed by anger toward another. He asked the Buddha how to punish the offender. The Buddha replied, "Imagine a great fire. When you add fuel to it, it burns stronger. When you withhold fuel, it dies. Anger is the same. When you add more anger, it grows. When you add compassion, it fades." The lesson is simple. In this web of life, we can choose what energy we pass forward. We can plant seeds of anger or seeds of kindness. Both will echo outward. Which will we choose? The unseen web also challenges the illusion of control. Many of us believe we can shape life exactly as we wish, if only we try hard enough. Yet the web shows us that outcomes depend on countless factors beyond our reach. This can feel frightening at first, like losing ground. But it is also freeing. It means that not everything rests on our shoulders. We do what we can. We plant the best seeds, but we do not have to carry the burden of controlling the entire forest. We trust the larger pattern. Think again of the morning cup of coffee. When you drink it with awareness, you taste not only the liquid, but the rain, the soil, the farmer's care, the driver's labor. Gratitude fills your heart. You realize you are not separate. You are supported by a web that stretches across the world. This awareness can transform even the most ordinary moments into sacred ones. A sip of coffee becomes a meditation. A bite of bread becomes a prayer of thanks. And when gratitude deepens, generosity follows. We see that just as we are supported, we too can support others. The smile we offer, the patience we extend, the kindness we share, all of it ripples through the web. We may never know the full impact of our small actions, but like a pebble dropped in a pond, they spread further than we imagine. One evening, a young man sat with his grandmother. She told him, "When I was your age, someone gave me kindness when I least expected it. That kindness gave me the strength to keep going. Now, every time I meet someone in need, I try to pass that kindness forward." In this way, we weave threads of compassion through the world. Her story reminds us, no act of goodness is wasted. It becomes part of the web, living on long after the moment has passed. The more we see this, the more our perspective shifts. Instead of asking, "Why me?" we begin to ask, "What is this moment teaching me? How does it connect me to others?" Suffering becomes less of a punishment and more of a teacher. Joy becomes less of a possession and more of a gift to be shared. The rigid walls of separation soften, revealing a reality that is wider, richer, more alive. This understanding also protects us from despair. When we face hardship, it is easy to feel hopeless. But when we remember the web, we see that change is always possible. Just as suffering ripples outward, so does healing. A single act of awareness, a single choice of compassion, can shift the pattern. Our lives are not fixed stories. They are living tapestries, constantly being rewoven. So pause for a moment. Look at your own life. Think of the countless hands, seen and unseen, that have shaped you. Think of the teachers, the friends, the strangers, the ancestors. Think of the earth, the sky, the elements that sustain you. Let gratitude rise like a quiet flame. Let it remind you that you are not alone and never have been. And as you breathe in this truth, feel the responsibility it brings. Each intention, each action, each word you speak sends ripples into the web. The question is not whether you will shape the world, you already do. The question is how. Will your actions add to the burden of suffering, or will they contribute to the healing of it? This question leads us naturally to the next part of our journey. For if our lives are woven together, and if our choices ripple outward, then the quality of our intentions matters deeply. The seeds we plant in the soil of existence will grow into the world we all share. So let us turn now to the echoes of our intentions and discover how the smallest choice can transform the course of life itself. Every choice we make is like a seed dropped into the soil of life. Some seeds are small, so tiny we hardly notice them. A single word, a passing thought, a quiet decision made in haste. Others are large, obvious, deliberate. A career change, a vow of love, an act of betrayal. Whether large or small, each seed takes root, and in time, it bears fruit. This is the truth of intention. What we intend in heart and mind shapes the world we live in, not only tomorrow, but today. Many people misunderstand karma, imagining it as a kind of cosmic scoreboard. Do good, earn reward. Do bad, suffer punishment. But the reality is subtler and more intimate. Karma is not about judgment. It is about momentum. Every intention creates a direction for the mind. Each time we act with impatience, the habit of impatience grows stronger. Each time we act with kindness, the habit of kindness takes deeper root. The field of our lives is constantly being planted. The harvest we experience is the sum of these seeds. Think of a farmer who sows corn. He does not expect wheat to grow. If he plants thorns, he cannot hope for roses. In the same way, we cannot plant seeds of anger and expect peace to blossom. We cannot plant seeds of greed and expect contentment to grow. Life reflects back the energy we put into it again and again. This does not mean that every difficulty we face is our fault. The world is vast, with countless conditions at play, but it does mean that we have more power than we realize. We may not control the storm, but we can choose what sails we set. We may not decide every outcome, but we can decide the spirit with which we meet it. And that spirit echoes, shaping not only our experience, but the experiences of those around. U.S. Picture a woman who speaks harshly to her child after a long day at work. The child carries that sting into the playground and snaps at a friend. The friend sulks at home and argues with a sibling. The sibling wakes tired and distracted, causing trouble in class. One seed of irritation has rippled outward, touching lives the mother never intended to harm. Now imagine the same moment if she paused, breathed, and spoke with patience. The child carries warmth instead of hurt, kindness instead of anger. The ripples spread differently. This is the quiet power of intention, not in our modern lives. This truth is easy to overlook. We rush from task to task, barely noticing the thoughts that drive us. We snap at coworkers, complain about traffic, criticize ourselves without mercy. These moments seem small, almost invisible. Yet over time, they accumulate, shaping the climate of our inner world. 1,000 small seeds of self-criticism grow into a forest of shame. 1,000 small seeds of gratitude grow into a garden of joy. The choice is ours, moment by moment. Buddhist practice invites us to pay attention to this moment before action. the pause between stimulus and response. In that pause, we can see our intention clearly. Are we about to act from fear or from love? From anger or from patience? From craving or from contentment? That moment is like the space between the farmer's hand and the soil. Once the seed is dropped, it will grow as it must. But before it is dropped, we can choose which seed to plant. Consider the story of Angulimala, a man in the Buddha's time who lived as a feared murderer. His path was paved with violence, his karma dark and heavy. Yet when he met the Buddha, something shifted. The Buddha did not meet him with fear or hate, but with calm compassion. In that moment, Angulimala's intention changed. He renounced violence and became a monk, spending the rest of his life cultivating peace. His story reminds us that karma is not destiny. The river of our life can be redirected at any point if we choose to plant new seeds. This redirection begins with awareness. Without awareness, we live on autopilot, repeating old patterns. We react instead of responding. We plant seeds carelessly, without thought for the harvest. With awareness, we wake up. We notice the tone of our thoughts. We feel the energy behind our actions. We realize that every moment carries creative power. This realization is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because we see the harm we may have caused. Empowering because we know we can begin in. Think of your own day. From morning to night, how many seeds do you plant? A smile to a stranger, a grumble at the news, a moment of gratitude, a flash of envy. Each one leaves an imprint, shaping the atmosphere of your heart. Over time, those imprints become habits, and habits become character. The life you live tomorrow is being written by the intentions you set today. This does not mean perfection is required. No one plants only flowers. We all scatter weeds from time to time. The teaching is not about purity, but about direction. Are we moving toward compassion or away from it? Are we planting more kindness than cruelty, more patience than anger? When we see that we have sown weeds, we do not despair. We notice, we learn, we choose again. Even the farmer knows that a field can be replanted. Seasons change, soil can be renewed, and new seeds can be sown. To deepen this, let us reflect on the body itself. Notice how your posture, your tone of voice, your breath shift when you act with kindness compared to when you act with anger. The body carries the echoes of intention, just as the world does. A mind filled with resentment tightens the jaw, quickens the pulse, hardens the heart. A mind filled with compassion softens the muscles, deepens the breath, eases the chest. Karma is not only about the future, it is happening right now, in your own body. The implications are vast. If every intention shapes not only our experience, but the collective atmosphere, then cultivating mindful intention is an act of service to the world. To choose patience in traffic is to send a ripple of calm into the human web. To choose forgiveness in conflict is to break the chain of anger that might otherwise stretch for generations. We often imagine that changing the world requires grand gestures. Yet sometimes it begins with the smallest seed planted in the soil of the present moment. Pause now and think of a moment today when you planted a seed without noticing. Did you sigh with frustration? Did you smile with warmth? Did you judge yourself harshly? Did you offer kindness? These small acts echo. They are not lost. They shape the fabric of your life and the lives of others. The teaching of karma, then, is not meant to frighten us. It is meant to awaken us. It tells us that we are not powerless victims of fate. We are gardeners of experience, capable of shaping the soil of our lives through conscious choice. Even in difficulty, even in uncertainty, we can choose to plant seeds of courage, patience, and love. And though the harvest may not appear overnight, it will come as we continue this journey. Hold this truth close. your intentions matter. They are not invisible. They are threads in the tapestry, seeds in the soil, ripples in the pond. They echo outward, touching lives you may never see. And in time, they return to you, like a song carried on the wind. And so the question arises, if our lives are shaped by intentions, how can we create a space within ourselves to nurture wise ones? How can we build an inner sanctuary where seeds of peace can grow strong, even amidst the chaos of the world? To answer this, we turn to the next truth. Crafting your inner sanctuary. There is a quiet moment that exists before every action, though we rarely notice it. The phone buzzes, and before we answer, there is a sliver of space. A thought arises, and before we speak it, there is a pause. In that gap, intention lives. Most of the time, we rush past it, swept away by habit. But when we begin to see the gap clearly, we discover the place where our freedom resides. This space is like the moment an archer pulls back a bowstring. Once the arrow is released, it will fly where it must. But before release, the archer can choose the aim, adjust the posture, steady the breath. So too with our lives. Once words are spoken, they cannot be taken back. Once actions are taken, their ripples spread. But before we act, we can pause. We can ask, what seed am I planting here? What harvest do I wish to see? One evening, a teacher asked his students to spend a day noticing their intentions before every action, no matter how small. One student returned and said, I thought I was a kind person. But when I paid attention, I saw how often I act from irritation, from fear, from desire to be admired. The teacher nodded and replied, now you see the seeds you have been planting. Awareness is the beginning of change. This practice is humbling, but it is also liberating. We cannot redirect what we cannot see. In daily life, intentions often hide beneath layers of justification. We say, I am only speaking the truth, when in fact we are planting seeds of cruelty. We say, I am just doing my duty, when we are planting seeds of resentment. We say, I want to help, when deep down we are planting seeds of pride. To live with integrity is to look honestly at the roots of our actions. Are we planting seeds of love or seeds of fear? Seeds of generosity or seeds of greed? This honesty is not meant to shame us. It is meant to free us. When we see that our harsh words were born from insecurity, we can meet ourselves with compassion and choose differently next time. When we notice that our impatience arises from fear, we can soothe the fear instead of feeding the impatience. Each moment of awareness is a chance to plant a new seed. There is a well-known saying, you cannot control the fruit, but you can choose the seed. This is the essence of the teaching. We may not see immediate results. We may act kindly and still be met with anger. We may forgive and still feel hurt. But the seed is planted nonetheless, and in time, it bears fruit. Patience requires trust in the unseen growth. Just as a farmer does not dig up the soil every day to check on the seed, we too must allow our good intentions the space and time to grow. That sometimes the fruit of intention blooms in unexpected ways. A man once gave a coin to a beggar, barely thinking of it. Years later, he was approached by a stranger who thanked him for that kindness, saying it gave him hope at a desperate moment. The man had forgotten, but the ripple lived on. In the same way, an unkind seed may bloom years later, long after we have forgotten the moment we planted it. This is why the practice of mindful intention is so vital. We are not only shaping today, but countless tomorrows. Let us look also at how intentions shape our inner life. Each time we choose compassion, our heart grows softer. Each time we choose anger, our heart grows harder. Over weeks, months, years, these choices form the atmosphere of our being. A person who consistently plants seeds of bitterness eventually sees the world through bitter eyes. A person who plants seeds of gratitude sees beauty even in hardship. The outer world may be the same, but the inner world differs completely. This is why spiritual traditions emphasize the purification of intention. It is not about becoming perfect. It is about tending the garden of the heart, so that over time, compassion becomes our default, patience becomes our habit, joy becomes our natural state. And when storms come, as they always do, we find that our inner soil is strong, our roots deep. You may wonder, how do we begin? The answer is both simple and profound. We begin by pausing. Before speaking, pause. Before acting, pause. In that pause, ask gently, will this plant peace or suffering? Will this grow beauty or harm? With practice, the pause becomes natural, and our actions flow from wisdom rather than impulse. And when we fail, as we all do, we return to compassion. We forgive ourselves. We begin again. This cycle of noticing, choosing, forgiving, and beginning again is the practice of a lifetime. There is no failure in it, only learning. Every moment is a new seed, a new chance. Let us not forget, the web of connectedness magnifies the echoes of our intentions. A kind word can travel through dozens of lives. A cruel action can echo for generations. To live with mindful intention is not only a gift to ourselves, it is a gift to the entire world. The Buddha once said, as rain breaks through an ill-thatched house, so passion breaks through an untrained mind. But as rain cannot break through a well-thatched house, so passion cannot break through a well-trained mind. Intention is the thatching of the house. When it is tended with care, the storms of life cannot destroy our peace. And so, as we complete this reflection, hold this truth close. You are planting seeds in every moment. Do not despair if the harvest is not yet visible. Trust the process. Water the seeds of kindness, and they will grow. Tend the soil of your heart, and it will bloom. This understanding naturally leads us forward. For if intentions shape our lives, then we must ask, how can we create a space where good intentions can flourish? How can we protect the young seedlings of patience and compassion from being choked by the weeds of distraction and stress? The answer lies in building a steady refuge within ourselves. And so we turn next to the art of crafting your inner sanctuary. The modern world tells us that freedom means having no limits. The more choices we have, the more schedules we fill, the more activities we pursue, the more alive we must be. Yet many discover the opposite. A life without rhythm feels chaotic, restless, unstable. We may wake each day with endless options, yet no real sense of peace. True freedom does not come from the absence of form. It comes from having a steady form that supports us, like a vessel holding water, like a shelter protecting us from the storm. Ancient wisdom has always understood this. Monks and practitioners did not create rituals out of superstition. They created them as sanctuaries, patterns of living that allow the heart to rest. A morning chant, a moment of silence before meals, a lamp lit at dusk, these were not mere traditions. They were anchors, small gestures of rhythm that reminded the mind to pause and return. Imagine your life as a garden. Without fences, paths, or boundaries, the garden grows wild. Weeds overwhelm the flowers, vines choke the fruit. But with gentle structure, clear rows, a path to walk, a boundary to protect, the garden flourishes. Our minds are much the same. Without sanctuary, thoughts tangle and overrun us. With sanctuary, awareness has space to breathe, to blossom. Think of the ordinary day. From the moment we wake, the phone is buzzing, the calendar is full, demands pull us in every direction. Our minds scatter. We are not present for breakfast, not present for the commute, not present for the conversations we have. Each task feels rushed, incomplete. Yet imagine if the day began differently, with a single mindful breath, with a candle lit in stillness, with gratitude whispered before rising. Such a moment does not erase the tasks ahead, but it changes the ground on which we walk. It creates an inner sanctuary that we carry with us. This sanctuary need not be elaborate. It can be as simple as a daily pause. One woman shared that every evening, before she entered her home, she sat in her car for 1 minute. She breathed deeply, letting go of the day's work, preparing to be present with her family. That single ritual transformed her evenings. Instead of carrying stress into the house, she carried calm. Instead of reacting with irritation, she responded with warmth. A small ritual, yet it created a profound sanctuary. We often resist structure, believing it will trap us. But in truth, the right kind of structure liberates us. Consider music. Without rhythm, sound is chaotic. With rhythm, sound becomes a song. Consider the body. Without bones, we would collapse. With bones, we can move freely. Structure is not prison. It is the frame that allows life to flow. Sanctuary is the same. It is the steady form that allows freedom of spirit. Buddhist practice offers many examples. A monk may begin each day with chanting, meditation, and bowing. To outsiders, these may seem repetitive, even restrictive. But for the monk, they are liberation. The rituals steady the mind, provide rhythm to the day, remind the heart of its deeper purpose. You do not need to be a monk to taste this. You can create your own sanctuary in the midst of modern life. Perhaps your sanctuary is a walk each morning, taken in silence. Perhaps it is a cup of tea enjoyed without distraction. Perhaps it is 5 minutes of gratitude before sleep. The form matters less than the intention. What matters is that it is consistent, deliberate, and infused with awareness. Over time, these rituals weave a sanctuary into your days, a sacred rhythm that supports you even when the world outside is stormy. Without sanctuary, we are tossed about by every demand, every distraction. With sanctuary, we become like a tree with deep roots. Winds may blow, but the tree stands firm. Storms may come, but the tree does not fall. Sanctuary does not remove hardship. It provides the strength to meet it. Consider the story of a man overwhelmed by anxiety. His mind raced constantly. His body never rested. He tried to solve his anxiety by doing more, working harder, exercising more, consuming endless information. But nothing helped. Finally, a teacher told him, each morning, before anything else, sit for 5 minutes. Do nothing. Just breathe. The man resisted, certain it was too simple. But he tried. Day after day, he sat in silence. Slowly, his mind softened. Slowly, his body relaxed. That 5-minute sanctuary became a doorway to peace he had never known. This is the paradox. Sanctuary is simple, yet powerful. It is not about escaping life. It is about returning to life. It is about creating a rhythm that draws us back, again and again, to presence. Without it, we are like a boat without an anchor, drifting wherever the current pulls. With it, we are steady, even as the waves rise. Asterisk, let us bring this to the level of daily practice. Ask yourself, what is one small ritual I can create today? Perhaps lighting a candle when you wake. Perhaps sitting quietly before turning on a screen. Perhaps offering a silent wish of kindness before each meal. Choose something simple, something you can sustain. Then honor it. Protect it. Let it become your sanctuary. Over time, these small acts accumulate. They build an inner home where your scattered mind can return. This home is not made of bricks, but of awareness. It is not decorated with furniture, but with presence. It is not guarded by locks, but by intention. And once built, it is always with you. No matter where you travel, no matter what challenges you face, you carry your sanctuary within. And so, as we move deeper into this journey, remember this: freedom is not found in endless activity. It is found in the steady rhythm of presence. Create your sanctuary, however small, and let it anchor you in the storms of life. A sanctuary is not a place you run to when life collapses. It is a steady rhythm that protects you long before the collapse arrives. It is the soil where resilience grows, so that when storms do come, you are not swept away. This is why ancient teachers insisted on daily practice. Not because they sought to burden people with rules, but because they knew the human mind is fragile without rhythm. The sanctuary is not about escape. It is about training the heart to remain steady in the middle of life. Think of the way we treat the body. If we wait until we are sick to care for our health, healing is much harder. But if we nurture the body daily with food, rest, and movement, it becomes strong, and illness does not break it so easily. The mind is the same. If we wait until crisis to seek peace, our scattered thoughts overwhelm us. But if we nurture the mind daily with silence, gratitude, and presence, it becomes steady. And crisis cannot destroy us. The beauty of sanctuary is that it can take endless forms. For one person, it may be a formal meditation practice. For another, it may be gardening, tending the earth with patience and care. For another, it may be reading sacred words each morning. What matters is not the form, but the consistency. Like drops of water that carve stone, small daily rituals create depth and stability. Consider the story of a nurse who worked long shifts in a crowded hospital. The stress of caring for others left her exhausted and numb. She feared she would lose the compassion that first called her to the profession. Then she began a small ritual. Each time she washed her hands, she paused, breathed, and silently wished well-being for the next patient she would meet. This simple act turned a routine moment into a sanctuary. Over time, her compassion was renewed. What had once drained her now sustained her. The mind resists sanctuary at first. It whispers, "I am too busy. I cannot stop." Yet sanctuary does not demand hours. It demands sincerity. Even one mindful breath can be a sanctuary if it is taken fully. Even one moment of silence can restore the heart if it is honored. What matters is not the length of time, but the willingness to pause. And as sanctuary deepens, something remarkable happens. Presence becomes portable. At first, sanctuary feels like a separate space, a room, a chair, a ritual. But over time, the sanctuary is no longer limited to one place. It travels with you. You carry silence into the market, presence into the workplace, gratitude into the kitchen. The sanctuary becomes your way of being, not just something you visit. This portable sanctuary transforms ordinary life. The morning commute becomes a meditation. Washing dishes becomes a prayer. Listening to a friend becomes a sacred act. Nothing is outside of sanctuary, because sanctuary is within you. The walls of the inner temple are built of awareness, and those walls are always open. Buddhist teachers often compare the mind to a wild horse. Left untended, it runs in every direction, restless and destructive. But with gentle training, the horse becomes a companion, carrying us with strength and grace. Sanctuary is that training. It is the steady hand on the reins, guiding the mind back to presence. Over time, the wild horse becomes calm, and instead of dragging us, it carries us where we need to go. Of course, sanctuary does not erase struggle. There will still be pain, still be fear, still be grief. But sanctuary changes how we meet them. A mind that has learned to pause does not drown in the first wave of suffering. A heart that has practiced gratitude does not collapse in despair. Sanctuary does not remove storms, but it teaches us how to stand in the rain without losing ourselves. This truth is captured in the image of a mountain. Storms roll across its slopes. Winds howl, snow falls, lightning strikes. Yet the mountain remains. It does not resist the storm, nor does it collapse beneath it. It simply stands, rooted, steady. When we cultivate sanctuary, we become like that mountain. The storms of life still come, but we are no longer defined by them. Creating sanctuary is also an act of compassion for others. When we are scattered, we bring chaos into our relationships. When we are steady, we bring peace. A parent who has cultivated sanctuary can meet a child's tantrum with patience. A partner who has built sanctuary can meet conflict with kindness. A leader who has rooted sanctuary can guide with wisdom instead of fear. Our sanctuary nourishes not only us, but everyone whose lives touch ours. So ask yourself, what sanctuary can I begin today? Do not wait for the perfect space, the perfect time, the perfect ritual. Begin small. Begin now. Light a candle. Take a breath. Offer gratitude. Then protect that sanctuary as you would protect something precious, because it is. Over time, it will grow strong, and it will sustain you. And as we close this reflection, let us see the natural bridge forward. Sanctuary is not about building walls to hide from life. It is about creating clarity so that we can meet life as it is. But when clarity deepens, another challenge arises. Our mind begins to see how much of life we cover with stories, judgments, and labels. Sanctuary opens the space. What we do with that space determines our freedom. To step into that freedom, we must learn to embrace reality's naked truth. The human mind is a tireless storyteller. From the moment we wake until the moment we sleep, it spins endless tales. A look from a coworker becomes proof they dislike us. A minor mistake becomes a story of failure. A fleeting sadness becomes evidence that something is wrong with us. We do not live only in events. We live in the stories our minds create about them. On the surface, this seems harmless. After all, stories help us make sense of the world. They give shape to experience, connect one moment to another, and create identity. But problems arise when we forget that stories are not reality itself. They are interpretations, overlays, labels placed upon life. And when we mistake them for truth, suffering follows. Consider anger. Something happens, a word spoken sharply, a plan interrupted. The raw experience of anger is energy in the body, heat rising, breath quickening, muscles tensing. If we simply allow this energy, it comes, peaks, and fades. But rarely do we leave it at that. The mind steps in. He disrespected me. She always does this. I can't believe this happened again. Suddenly, anger is no longer just energy. It is a story, complete with villains, past chapters, and imagined futures. The body tightens more, the heart hardens, and suffering deepens. Or consider sadness. The raw experience may be heaviness in the chest, tears welling, a sense of slowing down. Left alone, sadness too moves through us like a passing rain. But the mind insists, I am broken. My life is hopeless. This always happens to me. The sadness becomes a narrative, and we are trapped inside it. Instead of simply feeling the rain, we drown in the storm of our own interpretation. This is why Buddhist teachings invite us to meet suckness, reality as it is, before the mind interferes. Suckness means seeing anger as heat, sadness as heaviness, joy as lightness, without turning them into elaborate stories. It means meeting life directly, without labels, without resistance. This direct contact with reality is not cold or detached. On the contrary, it is deeply intimate. To feel anger as pure energy, without story, is to know yourself in a raw, honest way. To feel sadness as pure heaviness is to meet your own heart with compassion. To feel joy as simple warmth is to taste life without needing to capture it. In suckness, we find peace not because life becomes perfect, but because we finally see it clearly. There is a story of a monk who once stubbed his toe while walking. Pain shot through his body. For a moment, the mind wanted to shout, "Why did this happen? This is unfair." But then he laughed. "It is only pain," he said. The story makes it worse. And indeed, when we strip away the story, pain is simply sensation. Unpleasant, yes, but not unbearable. The suffering multiplies when we add the narrative. This shouldn't be. I can't handle this. Life is against me. The same is true with pleasure. We eat a sweet fruit, taste its richness, feel delight. That is reality. But then the mind begins. I want more. This should last forever. If I lose this, I will be unhappy. Suddenly, delight turns into craving, and peace is lost. The fruit itself was enough. The story around it brought suffering. This is the naked truth. Life is simpler than we make it. Experiences rise, last for a time, and pass. Joy, pain, anger, love, all are waves moving through the ocean of awareness. But the mind resists this simplicity. It clings to joy, pushes away pain, spins endless stories to make sense of it all. And in that clinging, pushing, and spinning, suffering is born. Imagine standing in front of a clear mirror. The mirror reflects whatever appears your face, the room, the sunlight, the shadow. It does not judge, interpret, or cling. It simply reflects. Awareness is like that mirror. Reality appears, is reflected, and passes. The trouble begins when we forget we are the mirror and believe we are the passing image. Then we are tossed about by every rise and fall. To embrace reality's naked truth is to return to the mirror. It is to see clearly, without distortion. This requires courage, because the mind often resists what it sees. We prefer comforting stories to raw truth. We prefer the illusion of control to the vulnerability of impermanence. Yet the very peace we long for lies on the other side of that courage. When we see reality as it is, we no longer waste energy fighting it. We meet life honestly, and in that honesty, peace blooms. Take a moment now to practice. Close your eyes and notice your body. Perhaps there is tension in your shoulders, warmth in your hands, heaviness in your chest. Notice without naming, without judging. Simply feel. This is reality. This is suckness. The moment you add, I am stressed, or I should be relaxed, you leave suckness and enter story. Stay with the raw sensation. In doing so, you touch life directly. The gift of suckness is that it reveals we are stronger than we think. Often we believe, I cannot bear this pain. I cannot handle this sadness. But when we meet these experiences directly, without story, we find they are bearable. They rise, they stay, they fade. It is the stories that crush us, not the raw truth. This truth also transforms relationships. When someone speaks harshly, we can meet the sound of the words, the tone of the voice, without immediately building a story. They hate me. They always do this. I am unworthy. Without the story, we can respond with clarity rather than reactivity. We can hear the pain behind their words. We can remain grounded in our own awareness that the naked truth is not always comfortable. It asks us to face impermanence, uncertainty, vulnerability. But it also frees us. The more we practice meeting life directly, the less power stories have over us. Anxiety, anger, sadness, they no longer define us. They are simply weather passing through the sky of awareness. And the sky, vast and open, remains untouched. This is why sanctuary is so important. Without sanctuary, the mind is too restless to see clearly. With sanctuary, we can sit quietly, observe, and let reality reveal itself. The sanctuary steadies us, so we can face the naked truth without flinching. And once we face it, we discover that reality itself is not our enemy. It is our teacher. As this reflection deepens, we begin to see that the search for more is also just another story. The mind says, this moment is not enough. I must have more success, more pleasure, more recognition. But what if this moment as it is were enough? What if the simple truth of now contained all the peace we seek? To embrace reality's naked truth is to see that enoughness has always been here, waiting beneath the stories of lack-dot. And so, as we prepare to continue, carry this with you. Stories will arise, but you need not be trapped in them. Beneath the stories lies reality, and reality is bearable, even beautiful. The mind will whisper, you need more, but the heart, when still, knows the quiet joy of enough. That is where we turn next. Reality is raw. Reality is unpolished. Reality is not always what we want it to be. Yet when we meet it directly, something inside us relaxes. We no longer waste precious energy trying to rearrange what already is. We stop shouting at the rain to cease, and instead, we simply feel the drops on our skin. This shift is subtle but powerful. A man who loses his job may first tell himself 1,000 stories. I am worthless. My life is ruined. No one will ever respect me again. These thoughts do not reflect truth. They are interpretations layered upon the event. The naked truth is simple. He no longer has this job. That is all. When he meets this fact without story, a space opens. In that space, he may discover resilience. He may see opportunities. He may find gratitude for freedom he never allowed himself before. But if he clings to the story, he remains trapped, unable to move. Meeting reality directly does not mean ignoring emotions. It means meeting them without distortion. Grief is grief. Anger is anger. Joy is joy. Each has its place. Each is natural. When we allow them without adding judgment, this shouldn't be here, or this means I am weak, we move through them with honesty and grace. There is a teaching that compares life to a river. The river flows, carrying clean water and muddy water alike. If we try to grasp the water, it slips through our fingers. If we try to push the river, we exhaust ourselves. But if we let it flow, we can drink, we can bathe, we can float. Reality is this river. Our suffering comes not from the water itself, but from our resistance to its flow. A young woman once came to a teacher, saying she felt broken because sadness visited her so often. The teacher asked her, when sadness comes, do you welcome it? She shook her head. I fight it. I tell myself it should not be here. The teacher replied, then you suffer twice, once from sadness and again from fighting it. Next time, greet it like an old friend. Say, ah, sadness, I see you have returned. Sit with it. Listen to it. Let it stay as long as it needs. It will leave when it is ready. The woman practiced this, and slowly her fear of sadness dissolved. She discovered that sadness was not her enemy, but a visitor that came and went, leaving her more tender, more alive. When we meet life in this way, without turning it into endless story, even pain carries a strange kind of peace. Pain hurts, but resistance multiplies the hurt. Acceptance does not erase pain, but it removes the extra weight we add through judgment. This is the naked truth. Life includes pain, but suffering is optional. The practice of mindfulness is simply the art of returning again and again to this truth. We notice when we are lost in stories. We breathe. We return to sensation. We touch reality directly. At first, the mind rebels. It wants the comfort of narrative. But over time, the simplicity of reality becomes a refuge. It is lighter to live without endless interpretation. It is freer to let things be as they are. This freedom is not passivity. Meeting reality does not mean we stop acting. It means we act from clarity instead of illusion. When a situation needs change, we change it. But we do so without adding unnecessary suffering. We respond instead of reacting. We see clearly instead of blindly. Think of a doctor treating a wound. If she denies the wound, saying, "This should not exist," the wound festers. If she panics, saying, "This wound is proof that life is cruel," she cannot act wisely. But if she looks directly, seeing the wound for what it is, she can clean it, dress it, and allow healing. We too must become doctors of our own experience, seeing clearly, meeting reality directly, acting from wisdom. The naked truth also reveals the preciousness of each moment. When we stop covering life with stories, we discover its raw beauty. The sound of rain on a roof, the warmth of sunlight on skin, the laughter of a friend, these are not small things. They are life itself, shimmering in its simplicity. The mind may say, "This is ordinary," but reality, when seen directly, is extraordinary. This practice does not come easily. The mind has spent years, even decades, spinning stories. But with patience, with sanctuary, with compassion, we can begin to loosen its grip. Each time we pause and notice, this is just a story, we return to truth. Each time we breathe into sensation without judgment, we reclaim our freedom. Slowly, story loses its power, and reality becomes enough. And here lies the bridge to our next step. For when we see reality clearly, we realize something profound. Much of our suffering comes not from what is, but from the belief that what is not enough. We are always chasing more comfort, more success, more love, more pleasure. We live as if the present moment were lacking, as if life must always be improved before it can be appreciated. But what if the opposite were true? What if peace is not found in accumulation, but in simplicity? What if the deepest joy is not in craving more, but in recognizing the quiet sufficiency of now? This is the wisdom we turn to next. The quiet joy of enough. Modern culture thrives on the promise of more. More wealth, more comfort, more recognition, more pleasure. Advertisements whisper, happiness is just one purchase away. Social media shouts, fulfillment is just one achievement away. And so we chase, not because we are greedy monsters, but because we are told over and over that the life we have is not enough. This hunger for more is subtle. It appears not only in big desires like buying a new car or landing a promotion, but also in the small corners of daily life. We take a bite of food, and before we finish, we are already thinking of the next bite. We listen to a friend, but half our attention is on the next task. We wake each morning not with gratitude for the day, but with anxiety about how much more we must do. This restlessness, this reaching forward, is a quiet thief. It robs us of the joy that is here now. Consider the paradox. Never in human history have we had so much. Technology places information, entertainment, and connection at our fingertips. Modern homes are filled with comforts that kings of the past could not imagine. Yet surveys show that anxiety, dissatisfaction, and depression are at record highs. How can it be that, with so much, we feel so empty? The answer lies in the nature of craving. Craving is a fire. Feed it, and it does not go out. It grows stronger. Buy one new device, and soon another catches your eye. Achieve one goal, and another rises immediately. Restlessness is never cured by more. It is only soothed by enough. Buddhist teachings speak of contentment as a radical act. To sit with what is and declare, "This is enough," is to rebel against the endless tide of craving. Contentment is not deprivation. It is not resignation. It is liberation. It frees us from the chains of if only and allows us to rest in the quiet joy of now. Imagine a man sitting in his backyard, watching the evening sky. He feels the cool air on his skin, hears the chirp of crickets, sees the colors of the sunset. In that moment, nothing is missing. He does not need more to be whole. He has touched the joy of enough. Now contrast that with another man sitting in a luxurious restaurant, eating an expensive meal, but scrolling on his phone, restless for more likes, more attention, or validation. He is surrounded by abundance, yet starved of peace. Enough is not about how much we have. It is about how deeply we meet what is here. This truth becomes clear when we practice simplicity. Take, for example, the act of eating. When we rush, distracted, craving the next bite, food is empty. But when we slow down, tasting each flavor, chewing with awareness, gratitude rises. The meal becomes sacred, even if it is simple rice and vegetables. The joy of enough is found not in luxury, but in presence, or consider possessions. How many of us fill our homes with things we rarely use? Closets overflow, drawers jam, garages fill. We tell ourselves these things bring security, status, comfort. Yet often they bring only clutter of space, of mind, of heart. Simplicity is not about owning nothing. It is about owning with awareness. It is about asking, does this nourish me, or does it weigh me down? The joy of enough is found when we release what does not serve us, making space for what truly matters. This joy extends beyond material things. Think of relationships. Craving whispers, I need more affection, more attention, more proof of love. But enough whispers, I see the love that is already here, a partner's small kindness, a friend's listening ear, a child's laughter. These are treasures often overlooked when we chase something grander. When we pause and see them, gratitude floods in, and suddenly, what we have is more than enough. That the same is true with time. We rush through days, always reaching for the next hour, the next weekend, the next vacation. But what if this very moment were enough? The quiet morning light, the sound of rain, the breath moving in and out. These ordinary moments hold extraordinary peace if we only stop to notice. There is a story of a wandering monk who carried only a bowl and a robe. People asked him, don't you miss comfort? Don't you want more? He smiled and said, when I am hungry, I eat. When I am tired, I sleep. What more do I need? His life was not defined by lack, but by presence. He had touched the freedom of enough. Of course, in modern life, most of us cannot live as wandering monks. We have families, jobs, responsibilities. But the essence of the teaching remains. Contentment is not about abandoning life. It is about transforming how we live it. It is about shifting from endless reaching to grateful receiving. To taste the joy of enough, we must slow down. We must pause before we buy, before we grasp, before we compare. Ask, is this truly needed? Or is it craving dressed as necessity? With practice, we learn to discern between nourishment and noise. And as we release the noise, clarity emerges. The heart becomes lighter. The mind becomes stiller. Life becomes richer, not because we have more, but because we finally see what we already have. This is not easy. The world will continue to shout, more, more. Advertisements will continue to stir longing. Social media will continue to fuel comparison. But we do not have to obey. We can choose another path. We can cultivate the sanctuary of enoughness within us, a quiet refusal to let craving rule our lives. And here lies the miracle. When we rest in enough, joy arises naturally. Gratitude flows without effort. Peace blooms without striving. We discover that we are not poor, not lacking, not behind. We are whole. We are supported. We are alive. And that is enough. As we close this reflection, notice the shift within you. Perhaps a part of you relaxes at the thought of enough. Perhaps another part resists, still craving more. Both are natural. The path of enough is not walked in a single step. It is cultivated, choice by choice, breath by breath. And as we prepare to continue, let us see where this path leads. For even when we embrace enoughness, suffering still arises. Often, it is not the events themselves that hurt us most, but the gap between reality and our expectations of it. To live in peace, we must go beyond the fragile nap of expectations and learn to meet life as it truly arrives. There is a gentle power in enough. It is not dramatic. It does not dazzle or impress. It does not shout for attention. Enough is quiet, steady, and deeply human. It asks us to pause in the middle of striving and notice. This breath, this step, this moment already whole. But to live in enough requires courage. It asks us to swim against the current of culture. The world celebrates accumulation, not contentment. It praises ambition, not sufficiency. When you declare, "I have enough," the world may call you unmotivated or complacent. Yet in truth, this declaration is a radical act of freedom. You are no longer a prisoner of endless craving. You are free to live, to love, to be. This freedom does not mean stagnation. It does not mean we abandon goals or dreams. Rather, it transforms the energy behind them. When we pursue from craving, even success leaves us empty. When we act from enoughness, even small steps bring peace. The difference lies not in what we do, but in how we meet life. Think of a musician playing a song. If she plays to impress, each note is tense, each mistake unbearable. But if she plays out of love for the music itself, the performance flows with ease. She may miss a note, yet joy remains. Enoughness is like that shift. It allows us to move through life with lightness, without the heavy burden of proving ourselves. This shift can be cultivated through gratitude. Each day, pause and name 3 things that are enough. The roof above you, the meal before you, the hand of someone you love. Gratitude roots us in the present. It transforms ordinary moments into treasures. It reveals that enoughness has been here all along, waiting to be noticed. Another practice is simplicity. Choose one area of life to simplify: a closet, a calendar, a meal. Remove the excess. Protect the essential. Notice how lightness arises when clutter falls away. This is not deprivation. It is liberation. It is creating space for what truly matters. The joy of enough also transforms relationships. When we believe we are lacking, we demand more from others, more proof of love, more reassurance, more attention. But when we rest in enough, we meet others with openness rather than need. Love becomes freer, less about grasping and more about giving. A simple conversation becomes rich. A shared silence becomes precious. The ordinary bonds of life become extraordinary. This joy even extends to how we see ourselves. Many live with the story, "I am not enough," not successful enough, not attractive enough, not wise enough. This story drives endless striving, endless comparison. But when we meet the naked truth, we see we are here, alive, breathing. That is enough. Worthiness is not earned. It is inherent. The grass does not strive to be taller to be worthy. The bird does not sing more beautifully to be worthy. They are enough simply by being. And so are we. When we embrace this, life softens. We stop measuring ourselves against impossible ideals. We stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin living. We discover that life has always been happening, right here, right now, and it is already whole. There is a Zen saying, when you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. This is the heart of enough. It does not mean we possess everything. It means we lack nothing. We meet each moment as complete. We rest in the simple joy of being alive. Of course, challenges remain. Pain still comes. Loss still hurts. Enoughness does not erase suffering, but it gives us a steady ground from which to meet suffering. Instead of collapsing in despair, we can say, even in this, something remains enough. Even in this, I am whole. That quiet strength carries us through storms with grace. So pause now. Feel your breath moving in and out. Notice the ground beneath you. Notice that in this moment, you are alive. Nothing is missing. This is enough. Let that truth sink in, not as an idea, but as a living experience. This is the doorway to peace. And as we step through this doorway, another question rises. If enoughness is the key to freedom, why do we so often lose it? Why do we cling to expectations that life must look a certain way before we allow ourselves peace? To answer this, we must look at the fragile maps we carry in our minds, the expectations that shape our suffering. Every person carries a map of how life is supposed to be. Sometimes the map is inherited, a picture of success drawn by family, culture, or society. Sometimes the map is self-made, a vision of the perfect career, the flawless partner, the smooth path free of obstacles. We cling to this map, believing it will guide us to happiness. But more often than not, the map becomes a source of suffering because life refuses to follow it. Think of expectations like a fragile glass pane. We hold it up against reality, comparing what is with what should be. The moment life does not match, the glass cracks and we feel pain. A partner forgets an anniversary and the map shatters. A promotion goes to someone else and the map shatters. A child chooses a different path than we dreamed and the map shatters. The pain is real, but it comes not only from the event itself. It comes from the clash between reality and expectation. This is why Buddhist teachings often remind us. Suffering lives in the gap between what is and what should be. Reality itself is often bearable. The job is lost, yes, but there are other jobs. The body ages, yes, but this is natural. A loved one disagrees, yes, but relationships can hold difference. What breaks us is not the event, but the insistence that life must follow our script. Consider the story of a father who dreamed his son would become a doctor. The son, however, longed to be a musician. For years, conflict burned between them. The father saw his son's choice as failure, betrayal, disappointment. Yet the pain did not come from the son's path. It came from the father's map. When the father finally laid the map down and saw his son clearly passionate, alive, dedicated to music, his heart softened. He discovered pride where once there was only disappointment. The son had not changed. Only the map had. We do this with ourselves as well. We carry maps of who we should be. Successful by a certain age, married by another, wealthy by another. When we fail to meet these timelines, we judge ourselves harshly. Yet who created these maps? Whose voice declared that worth must be measured by age, by status, by possession? Often, it is not our own wisdom but borrowed voices, inherited beliefs, cultural pressures. And we suffer, not because we are lacking, but because the map was never true. To go beyond the fragile map of expectations is to return to reality as it is. It is to release the rigid should and meet the living truth of is. This does not mean giving up dreams or resigning ourselves to stagnation. It means holding dreams lightly, without clinging, allowing space for life's unpredictable flow. Think of sailing a boat. If we fixate on a rigid map, we may crash when winds change. But if we hold the map loosely, adjusting sails to the current, we still move forward, perhaps not to the exact port we imagined, but often to a destination richer than we could have planned. Flexibility allows discovery. Rigidity creates suffering. This lesson is clear in relationships. Many suffer because they expect their partner to always understand, always agree, always provide happiness. But no partner can fulfill such a map. They are human, sometimes tired, sometimes distracted, sometimes flawed. When we insist they match our ideal, resentment grows. But when we meet them as they are, imperfect yet real, love deepens. True intimacy is not about living inside the map. It is about meeting the mystery of another person in each moment, without demand. Work is similar. We expect a smooth career path, constant recognition, steady success. Yet life offers twists, setbacks, changes, surprises. If we cling to the map, every deviation feels like failure. But if we let the map go, each turn becomes an opening. A lost job becomes a doorway to a new passion. A denied promotion becomes space for personal growth. Life, unbound by maps, becomes more fluid, more alive. One of the Buddhist teachings compared life to a lotus. The lotus blooms from mud, not from polished marble. If we expect only clear water, we miss the truth. Beauty often grows from difficulty. Expectations tell us that happiness lies only in smoothness. Reality shows us that joy can bloom even in struggle, even in imperfection. This does not mean we must abandon planning or vision. Maps have their place. They give direction, help us begin. But the wise traveler knows the map is not the territory. The map is a guide, not a cage. When life diverges, we adjust. When storms arise, we navigate. We remain present to the living reality beneath the paper lines. To practice this, begin by noticing your maps. Where do you hold rigid expectations? Of yourself? Of others? Of life? Write them down. Then ask, is this true? Or is this simply a story I carry? You may find that many expectations are inherited, unconscious, unnecessary. Letting them go does not mean giving up. It means stepping into freedom. This freedom is spacious. It allows joy in unexpected places. A ruined plan becomes a new adventure. A missed opportunity becomes time for rest. A flaw becomes a teacher. Without the fragile map, life itself becomes the guide, and its wisdom often surpasses our own. And so, as we prepare to continue, hold this reflection. Expectations are fragile, but reality is strong. Maps can break, but life flows on. Peace is not found in forcing life to match the map. It is found in laying the map down and walking directly into the landscape before us. The next step, then, is natural. If suffering comes from clinging to maps, then freedom comes from learning to release. To live fully, we must practice the art of letting go, not as loss, but as liberation. Life rarely follows the lines we draw. We plan, we predict, we script. Yet again and again, life surprises us. Sometimes with beauty, sometimes with sorrow, often with both. When our maps are fragile, these surprises feel like betrayals. But when we learn to release rigid maps, surprises become teachers, even gifts. A young woman once dreamed of marriage by 30, children by 32, and a flourishing career alongside family life. By 35, none of these had arrived. For years, she lived in quiet despair, believing she had failed. But then she asked herself, whose timeline am I following? Slowly, she began to notice the life she actually had: meaningful friendships, creative passions, freedom to travel, health in her body. She saw that while her map had not unfolded, life itself had not abandoned her. In fact, life had given her a different path, rich in its own way. Her suffering lessened not because her life changed, but because she released the fragile map. This is the secret of expectation. It is not life's demands that break us, but our own insistence that life conform. The more tightly we hold, the more often we feel torn apart. The more gently we hold, the more gracefully we move with change. Like a dancer who flows with the music, we learn to adjust our steps when the rhythm shifts. Expectations are rooted in control. We believe that if life follows our plan, we will be safe. But control is an illusion. The body ages whether we approve or not. Loved ones change, whether we allow it or not. Circumstances shift, whether we are ready or not. When we cling to control, life feels like constant loss. But when we release control, life becomes flow. We discover freedom in surrender. This surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is seeing clearly that clinging to a fragile map only multiplies suffering. Letting go does not mean giving up on direction. It means walking with open eyes, adjusting as the path unfolds. A tree bends with the wind and survives. A rigid branch snaps. Flexibility is life's resilience. Consider how expectations color even the smallest moments. You plan a quiet evening, but a friend calls in distress. You expect silence, but noise arrives. If you cling to the expectation, irritation grows. If you release it, compassion flows. Or you plan a smooth commute, but traffic snarls. If you cling, anger rises. If you release, perhaps you listen to music, or breathe, or simply notice the world around you. The event is the same. The experience changes with the map you hold. The Buddha once compared expectation to grasping a rope smeared with tar. The tighter we cling, the more stuck we become. Letting go feels frightening at first, as if we are losing something. But once our hands are free, we discover space, lightness, possibility. To practice, begin with small expectations. Notice when you expect a meal to taste a certain way, or a person to behave a certain way. When reality differs, pause, breathe, ask, can I meet this as it is, without demanding it be otherwise? With practice, this becomes easier. Over time, even larger expectations about career, family, self begin to loosen. We discover peace not in fixing life, but in meeting it as it comes. This does not mean passivity. Releasing expectations does not mean we stop acting. It means our actions come from clarity rather than clinging. We still plant seeds, pursue goals, nurture dreams, but we do so lightly, ready to adapt. We act, but we do not chain our happiness to outcomes. One teacher described it this way: do your best and let the rest unfold. The joy is in the doing, not in forcing results. The peace is in the journey, not in the rigid destination. And here is the heart of the teaching. When we release fragile maps, we discover hidden treasures. A canceled plan becomes unexpected rest. A broken dream becomes a doorway to a new calling. A loss becomes an invitation to deeper compassion. Life, when freed from the prison of should, often reveals a beauty far greater than we imagined. So pause now. Look at your own maps. Where are you insisting life must match a script? Where do you suffer because reality does not align with expectation? Notice the tightness, the clinging. Then imagine releasing it, like unclenching a fist. Feel the space that opens. Feel the lightness. This is freedom. As we move forward, the path becomes clear. If suffering arises from clinging, then liberation comes from letting go. But letting go is not always easy. It asks us to release not only expectations, but attachments, identities, even the illusions we have carried for years. Letting go is not loss. It is the art of making space. It is the practice of discovering freedom in the very heart of life. Pause now and imagine this boundless heart. Imagine your compassion extending to the person nearest you, then to the room around you, then to your neighborhood, your city, your country, the world. Imagine it touching not only humans, but animals, forests, oceans, skies. Feel how vast the heart can be. Feel the freedom in such openness. This is compassion without limit. And yet, the journey does not end here. Compassion, vast as it is, points us to something even greater, the great release. For to live fully, to love deeply, to act wisely, we must embrace the ultimate truth that all things rise and fall, and that in letting them go completely, we find the deepest peace. There comes a point on the journey when we begin to see that every practice mindfulness, sanctuary, truth, enoughness, compassion points to one final lesson: release. We can quiet the mind, embrace reality, let go of expectations, open the heart. But unless we fully release, we remain bound. The great release is the culmination of the path, the doorway into the deepest freedom. Release is not about pushing life away. It is not about detachment in the sense of coldness or apathy. It is about loosening the deepest clinging, the subtle belief that we can hold on to anything forever. The body, the roles we play, the people we love, even our very breath, all are impermanent. To release is to surrender to this truth, not as loss, but as liberation. Think of a bird taking flight. The branch was never meant to be its home forever. It rests, then it lifts. In the same way, we rest in each stage of life, but we are not meant to cling there. Childhood gives way to adulthood, adulthood to old age, health to illness, life to death. The great release is learning to spread our wings, to trust the wind, to rise when it is time. We see glimpses of release in daily life. Each night, we surrender to sleep. Each breath, we let go in exhalation. Each goodbye, we release a moment that will never return. The great release is not something far away. It is happening constantly. The invitation is to do it consciously, with trust, with peace. One teacher described release as the art of dying before you die. This does not mean physical death, but the death of clinging. To die before you die is to let go of the illusion of permanence while still alive. Then, when actual death comes, it is not an enemy, but a continuation of the great release. Many fear release because they believe it means emptiness. If I let go, the mind whispers, there will be nothing left. But in truth, release reveals fullness. When we cling, we see only what we fear to lose. When we release, we see the vastness of life itself. A clenched fist can hold nothing new. An open hand can receive everything. Consider the story of two monks crossing a river. They saw a woman struggling to cross. One monk carried her on his back to the other side, then set her down. Hours later, the second monk said, "Why did you carry her?" "We are not supposed to touch women." The first monk replied, "I set her down hours ago." "Why are you still carrying her?" This is the great release, not carrying burdens longer than necessary, not clinging to what has already passed. Release also means forgiveness. To release resentment, release regret, release the chains of the past. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was right. It is saying, I will not carry this weight forever. It is setting the stone down. In this way, forgiveness is an act of profound release, freeing both ourselves and others. In the practice of meditation, release is constant. We notice a thought, then we let it go. We notice a sensation, then we let it go. Again and again, release. At first, this feels impossible. The mind wants to grasp, to analyze, to replay. But with practice, release becomes natural. We discover the peace that comes from not clinging, from allowing life to rise and fall without resistance. Release is also the heart of compassion. When we release the illusion of separateness, we see that all beings are part of the same fabric. When we release the need to protect the small self, love flows freely. Release does not diminish us. It dissolves the barriers that keep us from connection. There is an image in Zen of an open sky. Clouds pass thoughts, feelings, events. Birds fly across joy, sorrow, change. The sky holds them all, yet clings to none. The sky does not grasp the cloud, does not trap the bird. It allows them to come and go. Release means becoming like the sky, vast, open, free. As we move deeper into this reflection, we see that the great release is not a single act, but a way of living. It is choosing moment by moment to open the hand, to trust the flow, to surrender to the impermanence of all things. It is living with the awareness that nothing belongs to us, and yet everything is given as a gift. And in this awareness, we find peace beyond understanding. Peace not dependent on outcomes. Peace not shattered by loss. Peace that comes from aligning with the truth of life itself. This is the great release, the freedom of letting everything be as it is. The great release is the summit of the path, yet it is also the ground beneath every step. It is both destination and beginning. To release is not something we do once and for all. It is something we practice endlessly, moment by moment. Each time we loosen our grip, we taste a little more freedom. Each time we cling, we feel the old weight return. The art is in remembering again and again to let go. Think of the seasons. Spring bursts with life. Summer ripens with fullness. Autumn lets go with grace. Winter rests in stillness. Nature does not cling to summer when autumn comes. It does not fight the falling leaves or resist the snow. It releases in rhythm, and through release, life renews. We, too, are part of this rhythm. When we release with trust, we align with life's deepest flow. Yet release does not mean indifference. It does not mean we stop loving or caring. On the contrary, release deepens love. When we cling, our love is narrow, conditional. I love you as long as you stay. I love this life as long as it goes my way. But when we release, love becomes spacious, unconditional. I love you as you are, even knowing you will change. I love this life in its impermanence, because that impermanence makes every moment precious. Release transforms love from possession into pure gift. There is a Zen saying, let go or be dragged. Life moves whether we agree or not. To resist is to be dragged through the currents, battered and bruised. To release is to flow with the river, to float, to discover that the current carries us where we need to go. This practice of release also reshapes our relationship with death. Many fear death as the ultimate loss, the final ending. But if we have practiced release in small ways, letting go of breaths, of days, of identities, then death is not an enemy, but the final gesture of a life well lived. It is the ultimate exhalation, the final surrender. The great return. Stories from Buddhist tradition often describe great masters meeting death with calm, even joy. Why? Because they had already died to clinging. They had already practiced release so deeply that when the final moment came, it was not foreign. It was simply another letting go. We too can prepare, not with fear, but with practice. Each small release is training for the great release. Release also dissolves fear of the unknown. Much of our anxiety comes from the attempt to control what we cannot see. We want guarantees, certainty, security. But the truth is, life has never offered guarantees. The future has always been uncertain. To release is to make peace with this uncertainty, to trust that we can meet whatever comes, not because we control it, but because we are free within it. There is a story of a man who clung desperately to the edge of a cliff, terrified of falling. His fingers burned, his arms trembled. At last, exhausted, he let go and discovered there was solid ground just beneath him. This is release. We fear it will destroy us. Yet often, when we let go, we discover support we never imagined. To live with great release is to live lightly. We still engage fully, but we do not cling. We still love deeply, but we do not possess. We still strive, but we do not demand. We become like travelers, passing through, grateful for each step, unburdened by what we cannot carry. Pause now and imagine your life with great release. Imagine loosening the grip on every fear, every regret, every expectation. Imagine your hands open, your heart unbound. Feel the space, the ease, the peace. This is not fantasy. It is possible. It begins with one breath, one choice, one moment of letting go. And so, the journey comes full circle. We began with the pain of modern life stress, craving, loneliness, anxiety. We walked through sanctuary, truth, enoughness, compassion. Each step pointed us here to the freedom of release. This is the heart of the teaching. We suffer because we cling. We are free when we release. From this freedom, we live not as victims of life, nor as controllers of life, but as participants in life's great dance. We rise, we fall, we come, we go, and through it all, we remain free. This is the great release. This is liberation. And as we prepare for the conclusion of our journey, let us gather all we have learned. Let us see how these teachings stress met with presence, craving met with enoughness, relationships met with compassion, life itself met with release, come together to form a path of hope, of healing, of freedom. The final step is to bring it all home, to weave it into one message that stays with us long after the words end.